marketing is changing, and we can do all the research we want. We can listen to all the blogs that are out there. We can listen to best practices by Google, but the best people to talk to learn where marketing is headed is the business owners and what they're seeing. Where are their leads coming from? Where aren't their leads coming from? Which channels are going backwards? So that in itself, I think, is the secret sauce to One SEO, is that we really truly listen to our clients. And we develop our programs and our packages and our marketing solutions around their business and what they're trying to accomplish and where we're at within, the evolution of marketing.
This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed by Penji podcast, the podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm Shannon, your host, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, CJ Bachmann, CEO of One SEO. I'm very excited for you to come on with me today. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely, Shannon. Thank you so much for having me. Excited about the conversation today.
Thank you so much. So could you just start off with telling everyone a little bit about your work, what you do, and kind of what led you to this point in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the CEO of One SEO. We are a digital agency outside of Philadelphia, and we focus on 3 divisions. So home services, health and wellness, and professional services. Our job is to help our clients' businesses grow online through a wide variety of marketing solutions. So at One SEO, we offer anything from traditional SEO to paid advertising within PPC, Meta, Google, you name it, we're there. Email marketing, content marketing, reputation management, website design and development. We even have partnerships and offerings within the OTT space, as well as in billboards, direct mail, pretty well much marketing solutions, full rounded, anything you can think of, we pretty well much have a solution for it. I didn't fall into being a CEO. I didn't plan to be a CEO. So Shannon, a lot of times when people are kind of asking me about my journey, there's almost a little bit of a hesitation to share because it's really not that interesting. But ultimately, I dropped out of college. I wanted to be a teacher when I was growing up. I specifically wanted to work with children that had ADD and ADHD. And all throughout high school, I actually did a 4-year science project where I worked with a local elementary school teacher and started to do testing and develop new ways to actually test kids with ADD and ADHD so that they had the ability to really be at that same playing level, right? You give kids a test, but if someone can't do it and other ones can, that curve is drastically messed up, moving forward. So that was my hope, is that I could be able to really develop a curriculum that helped. And ultimately in college, when I got to that point and realized I had no control over the curriculum, and unless I was going to do something in the private sector, I ultimately wasn't going to be able to make the impact I wanted. So I was like, okay, great. What are we going to do now? And that's when I decided that, I'm just going to go into, I want to learn as much about business as possible. So my dad owned his own company. So at a very young age, I had done things like payroll and invoicing and kind of helping in that regard. So I just decided to go into the route of business. So I took as many college courses as I could on things like Excel, right? They had classes back in the day on how to use Excel and, even learn how to, build basic websites and things like that. Ultimately landed a job in corporate with the goal of climbing the ladder. I think that's what a lot of people, especially people my age, were kind of taught. If you wanted to have a real career, you needed to climb that corporate ladder. So I landed at a business that did all of the interior for construction. So cabinets, countertops, flooring, roofing, pretty well much everything but concrete. And I spent 8 years there learning how to sell to builders. That taught me a lot, right? A whole lot. And ultimately, I moved to Philadelphia and worked in sales and marketing for a heating and air conditioning company. And One SEO was founded in 2009, and I was asked to be a part of it. And for the first 2 years, I just consulted. I did not want to change businesses. One SEO was founded by a family member at the time. I did not want to work with family. And I was just kind of mulling along. And ultimately, it took up so much time. I said, you win, I'll come and I'll join. Joined the company, I joined as a project manager. So it's definitely not the ground level, but nowhere near CEO. And I basically worked with about 100 clients. I had a book of business of 100 clients, and I had to make sure that their marketing was successful. There were no processes, no procedures. So that's kind of where I got my start, right? I'm sure you see that in a lot of people, especially with startups. There's no processes, no procedures, no understanding of how to actually accomplish a task. So I built them for myself. And then ultimately that led me to leading the whole team of project managers. So I built processes for the team, which then got me into VP of operations, where I was doing it for the entire company. And that's where kind of the light bulb clicked. And it's like, I am a teacher, right? I do that. I do get to teach people how to organize their day, teach people how to follow a process, teach people how to, accomplish their daily tasks. And so I built processes for the entire company and then moved into the COO role, which ultimately turned into right bodies in the right seats. So I've learned a lot about human capital and, the difficulty and the expense and, the differences in generations and kind of all of that stuff. And then I took over as CEO in September of 2021, and that's been the gig ever since. So that's a long-winded way. Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I resonate with a lot of the things you said. One is that I went to college for political science and also had a great vision for a lot of what I wanted to do, and kind of discovered through a lot of my education that was way easier said than done. And even in like policy, I know that a lot of that influences education, but a lot of that, unfortunately, is not easily done in any way at all, or done at all. And so I completely understand that. I kind of fell into marketing also. So a similar story. And also I love that you did get into climbing the ladder though, because that was something that I was going to ask you too, because that's incredible to see, being a long time part of a company to be able to do that, because I think that's a lot of people's dream. So I think that's a really cool thing, and it's kind of nice that you were able to lay those foundations of how a lot of your teams worked, because I think that the best way to get into a larger position in a company is by working your way up, because all of the intricacies of how the company works when you're up there. Because a lot of people will get hired at a high level at a company from another company and not know all these inner workings. So that's really, really interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean the cool thing about that story and the piece that I left out was that when I went into that organization, I picked them. Like I literally was like looking through the phone book, right? And they just happened to be the largest corporation that was in my general vicinity. I grew up in a very small area, and they were a very large company. So I was like, I'm gonna work there. So I went in to apply, and they're like, we only have a receptionist. Like was really the only thing they had at the time. And I was like, that's okay, I'll do it. They're not gonna leave me there long, right? That confidence. So I'm like, you're gonna okay, yeah. So I did. I joined as a receptionist in that company, and I was in that job for 3 months. After that, I got to be an assistant to one of the general managers, which I learned a lot more about the company, and then just kind of moved from role to role, climbing that ladder and kind of clawing my way up as I went along. And as I mentioned right before the show, we were talking, I had never been in that role before. I had never been in that position before. So there were a ton of things that came about that I didn't realize, right? Selling to builders. Okay, well, I'm 5'1" female, right? Like coming in with my, tape measure on my hip, and I'm like, I got this. And they're looking at me like, what? So that was something that, I had to overcome that obstacle, and that helped me refine my sales pitch and really get comfortable talking to people. I built so much confidence up through that as well, because they saw limitations in me. I didn't, right? I wasn't raised that way. So it was a lot of fun, but again, everybody's journey is different, but ultimately it led me to, One SEO, which we have over 500 clients that we serve on a daily basis, and it's great to watch these companies grow and flourish, and I get to teach, which is also great as well.
I actually love hearing that, especially the story of you saying that you're 5'1" talking to these construction companies. My sister, I resonate with that so much because my sister is a lead estimator for an architecture firm. And she kind of worked her way up, and it's so comical to watch her interact with other people. There's actually like a picture that surfaced on Facebook of her with the construction company. She's like the only woman in a hard hat and heels, like working on this, like being on this construction site. And I love to see it because it's fantastic to see women in those spaces that you don't see very often, but it's also incredible to hear. I think a lot of women, I don't know, I don't think they stunt themselves. I think society kind of does that a little bit, but it's really nice to hear. It's almost inspirational to hear about how you were like, no, I'm not. This is not the place I'm staying. Like I have. That's so incredible. So could you kind of talk about how maybe you've been able to grow the agency from where you've started? Because I think that would be really interesting since you've been able to see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the really great thing about how we started is we were bootstrapped, right? A lot of startups are, but when I say we were bootstrapped, like we were literally bootstrapped. Our first couple of sales is really what spawned the business, right? So it's like, okay, there were two people that said, we're going to start a business. One's like, okay, I'll take care of the books. And the other one's like, I'll sell. And that was really it. So someone had to go out and get the business. Then as that business came in, it's like, okay, how are we going to fulfill? What do we need to be able to fulfill? So One SEO went from being a outsourced labor companies. We had a team in India when we first started. It was the only way that we were able to, accomplish it. We would get a sale in, and then the team in India would fulfill all of that work, and we kept moving forward. Fast forward to today, everything is done in-house. I've got a full team of website designers and developers, a full team of SEO technicians, a full team of content writers, so on and so forth. So when I'm talking to people and, they're talking about outsourced labor or problems that they've had with other companies, I have a completely different set of problems because everybody's here. So I have to deal with that human, capital aspect versus just farming it out to someone else. But that in itself is what has allowed us to grow. So the unique part of being a bootstrap organization in the beginning is that as you bring on clients, you listen to what they want, to what they need, to what their pain points are deeper than the one they called you for, right? That's how we got into website design and development. We really just wanted to provide local internet traffic. Just old school traditional SEO was all we planned to do day one. And it just evolved from there so much because there was such a need for businesses not only to have marketing in place, but to have someone that was going to hold them accountable for ensuring that they had the right level of marketing and then be responsible for making sure that that marketing was working. If you go backwards in time and you think about the Yellow Pages days when they started YP.com, and people were able to first put ads up there, and that was kind of Google's first take. You put the ad up, and if it worked, it worked. And if it didn't work, then when you were tired of paying money that you weren't getting money back from, you canceled. And that was really it. There was no support. So our business was built on the coattails of being the underdog's voice, talking to that small business owner and understanding what are their obstacles, what are they facing, and really building our company around them. And that's what we've done. And now we've reached kind of the precipice in our organization where we're now scaling up. We've developed all of these processes, we've developed all these procedures, but we've also developed new technology and new ways of providing these marketing solutions, and they need to go up market. So now we're working with some of these larger companies, and that puts us right back in that phase of listening and learning, right? Tell us how we can help you. Marketing is changing, and we can do all the research we want. We can listen to all the blogs that are out there. We can listen to best practices by Google, but the best people to talk to learn where marketing is headed is the business owners and what they're seeing. Where are their leads coming from? Where aren't their leads coming from? Which channels are going backwards? So that in itself, I think, is the secret sauce to One SEO, is that we really truly listen to our clients and we develop our programs and our packages and our marketing solutions around their business and what they're trying to accomplish and where we're at within, the evolution of marketing.
I really like that because I do find that a lot of agencies kind of think they know best. And I think that being forward looking and listening to your clients is really helpful because I've even heard in the past an agency will assume that they know best, but their client is insisting that, oh, if we search for these keywords, like I promise you, we just need you to do that for us. We know what we're looking for, but we just can't do it ourselves. And listening to that and those being like the best stories, like the best client relationship that you have because you did exactly what they asked for and they know their field often better than a lot of these agencies do. Like if they're in a niche field, of course, then maybe they might know the same amount, but I love the personal approach to it because I do think that, they've been in those worlds probably longer than any of us have. And so it's good that they have that you have that perspective.
Yeah, and I would say on the flip side of it too, because we are so ingrained in relationship, that's the important piece of us, we also feel comfortable telling the client no, right? And the clients need to hear that because they do know their business best. They know their jargon best. They, all of that kind of aspect, but they don't know marketing the best. So sometimes it's being able to put that disclaimer, hey, what you're asking us to do, we will absolutely do for you because you're paying us to do it. But, here's a little disclaimer on why this isn't the best marketing practice and why we don't feel that this is going to be the best avenue. And that happens all the time. And the best thing about that is when you are a yes man, you are responsible if it's successful, whether that was your idea or not. When you just say, sure, we'll do it. Yeah. You are 100% responsible for the outcome of that, even though it wasn't your idea. So being able to say, hey, listen, we can, but we want you to know this isn't best practice or this is the way that we would prefer to do it. You're at least putting that onus on the owner to say, hey, we're going to try it your way, but you remove some of that accountability because we want clients who want to test things. We want clients who want to play around with A/B testing. We want clients who want to speak up, but we also sometimes need to stand our ground. And that comes into place sometimes with development things. Everybody has an opinion on where things should sit on the website. But your data and your analytics is showing one thing, and it's very hard for us to feel comfortable making a change when data is showing that something needs to be a certain way. So I think it's just a combination of having that open dialogue with our clients to where they feel comfortable sharing their ideas and thoughts, but they also know they can trust us to accomplish what they want us to accomplish, take their ideas into consideration, but be real about the potential success.
Yeah, marketing is a gamble, and a lot of companies are a little uncomfortable with that idea of things, I think. Like if they're comfortable with a certain avenue of where their work is shown and how, sometimes it's good to get out of their comfort zones because that sometimes shows to be the best campaigns. I completely agree with that. I do like that there definitely has to be this level of trust and transparency between agencies and clients because they have to be able to be slightly pushed out of their comfort zone to be able to show success, and that's very important. Awesome. So sorry, I didn't mean to get you off. So say you have a prospective customer interested in doing business with you. What is your proposal process for that? Like, how do you get them to become a client?
Yeah, absolutely. So whether the lead comes in through a form, a phone call, a referral, or whatever the case may be, the first stage is really that introductory call, right? We want to first kind of understand why are they in need of marketing services. So that's, that phone call to just get to know each other, understand what pain points they're bringing to the table. Because ultimately we've learned sometimes that the reason why they call isn't really the reason why they need marketing help, right? It's usually something else. So we go through that introductory call to get to know someone and what their needs are. From there, we go in and we do a kind of a deep dive discovery. Obviously, like any other agency, there's a couple of tools that we'll use that'll give us a very quick kind of report so that it points fingers to things that we should be looking at, but we take it a little bit a step further. And we've got some strategists that will kind of go in and do some deep dives and pull out some insights. We always try to look under the hood. So we always ask for analytics access, AdWords access. We want to be able to see your data. If something's working, we're going to tell you it's working, because the last thing we want to do is change something that's working well, because then you're going to be very unhappy, right? If it's working and then we just go and throw our strategy, on it and move it out the window, then that's a problem. So we go through that discovery phase. From there, we go into an audit conversation, and that's where we talk to the prospect about our findings. We open up the dashboard, we share the data that we're looking at, we give them visuals so that they understand what we're recommending, things like that. So we walk through all of that. We talk at a high level about what we're proposing, what would be the fixes to the pains that they're having. And then after that call, we will send out the proposal along with a video review of that proposal as well. So the client has multiple opportunities to provide information, to provide insight on what they're looking for. And then ultimately, once they sign that proposal, then we want to get started right away on understanding just a little bit more. So there's a form that goes out, a questionnaire. It's a pretty standard type questionnaire, but it really deep dives into all of the data that we will need to get started, all of the logins, credentials, gives insights on the timeline, what to expect and when to expect. Once the contract is signed, there is a total onboarding that happens with the client success team. That's where the prospect gets to meet the group of individuals that they're going to be working with. They get to spend time with their client success coordinator, who ultimately will be managing their project through and through. If they're getting a website, they meet with the development team to walk through what the scope of that's going to look like and everything. And then at the end of that onboarding, the client now walks away with a full 6-month strategy. So they know what to expect and the timeline for this next 6 months. When am I going to get this? What is my responsibility? And then every 6 months, that strategy is updated and reviewed. Monthly, clients meet with their client success coordinator to review results, talk about where we are in the timeline, what was accomplished since the last time we met, what is going to be accomplished in the next 30 days. And then we also always let them know any recommendations that we may have based on their previous performance. So those types of recommendations can be anything from moving a budget upward, decreasing something, changing an ad that may be underperforming, or a product that maybe they needed in the beginning and they weren't quite ready to get. So a lot of times people want to do, let's say, email marketing, but it's not within their budget when they first start. So we know that email marketing would be beneficial for that particular client. It goes on a recommendation and it follows them on every single monthly meeting until they decide that they're going to do email marketing. This way, it's always in front of them, their next phase, the next stage, what they should be doing or what they could be doing.
I think that's a really great way of maintaining customer relationships, for sure. I think that having the information in front of them at all times is great, because I think a lot of people have a difficulty kind of keeping track of things, and I feel like that's very transparent. That's a great way of them being able to know exactly what's going on at all times. I don't think that
we have a rolling agenda. No, that's okay. A rolling agenda is what we call it. So as everything is happening throughout the course of the month, the product delivery team, the client success coordinator, and the client alike are adding things to this rolling agenda. So every time everybody's in front of each other, nothing gets missed. The client can see as tasks are being completed. The client can also add things to the agenda that are maybe important for them to discuss. And then 48 hours before the review meeting, that agenda is pushed out via email to remind the client, hey, if there's anything that you wanted to talk about that you don't see on the agenda, you can add it. It keeps everybody accountable and it keeps things very consistent. So it's been a huge help for us since we've implemented the rolling agenda concept.
I really like that. So do you, after this process, after you have them as a client and everything like that, I think something that's really important for agencies specifically is getting a referral. Do you have a strategy for maybe after they are, after their success strategy of having them as a client? Do you have anything specific that you do after that to kind of guarantee something like that?
It's so topical that you bring that up, because I just had a meeting about our client success team and how we're going to change how we do referrals. But ultimately what happens now is the client success coordinator is responsible on a monthly basis for obtaining referrals from their clients. And they can do that in several different ways. So they've got tools that automatically can push out an SMS notification. But more importantly, what normally happens is they ask during a review meeting, especially when that meeting has gone really well. Everything is running at full speed. The client is super happy with where their return on investment sits and all of that. And just everybody just has that great, wonderful feeling that that was a fantastic meeting. That's normally when it's like, hey, if you know anybody else that that's a friend of yours that you want to feel that way, send them our way. And then we do give a kickback to our clients. So our clients receive a 20% discount for every referral that they send over that way. So it's lucrative for the clients and then obviously beneficial for the company. But we've not made it an automated process right now. We're trying to figure out the best way of doing it without it feeling intrusive. Because ultimately sometimes companies ask too much, right? They ask for reviews on a regular basis. They ask for testimonials, and then they ask for referrals. And you feel like your agency is just always gimme, gimme, gimme. So we want to make sure that if we're asking our clients to give something to us, that they're getting something more in return. So we do the discount.
I really like that. I think that it's hard because a lot of people think that even if they had a good experience with an agency or someone, like a business that they've been involved with, it's very difficult to get that referral or get that review because they ultimately have better things to do with their time. They don't want to be doing that, even if they do like you, unless I don't know, a lot of people are inclined to give back immediately for things like that. But it's understandable when people have other things to do with their time. So I think that the incentive is a really good thing to kind of ensure that. I think that we do a similar thing with our referral process as well. And I think that that's a really great strategy to give them that last push.
Yep. And then I think the other piece is just keep your clients happy, right? Happy clients send referrals. Why? Because they tell other people that they're happy. Someone's business is doing well. They're all friends with other business owners, and the business owner is going to, hey, what changed? Shannon, 2 months ago you were complaining you didn't have enough going on. What's changed? Oh, we partnered with One SEO. Like the referrals happen when clients are happy. So ultimately, from a client success side, that's the biggest emphasis, right? Is making sure that the clients are feeling the impact of what we're doing, that they can feel a return on investment, and that, like you said, being open and honest with them, because marketing isn't always perfect and it changes. And what worked yesterday might not work today. It's not always the hockey stick, and green arrows. Like there are times where campaigns don't work well and you've got to go in and revamp them. There are times where someone's LSA was working really well and all of a sudden it's not doing the same. So that transparency and building that rapport with the clients makes all of the difference in the world.
Yeah, I think transparency is probably if not the most important thing in marketing or any agency client relationship, because people want to know the facts and they want to be able to see that even if what you're doing is not, because marketing is a gamble and sometimes things don't work, even if something isn't working out, to be able to tell them, hey, this isn't working out, but we're going to do better, is something that people want to see, and you can't guarantee that your client is going to stay with you if something doesn't work, but that doesn't necessarily mean, if you're doing all the right things, that doesn't necessarily mean it's your fault. That just means that sometimes things don't work out.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say I'm so sorry to cut this short, but I have to. That's all the time we do have today, but I really appreciate you coming on with me and talking to me today. I think we got a lot of great advice for our audience and a lot of valuable tips, and I really appreciate everything that you did today.
Absolutely, Shannon. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone else for watching or listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more professionals like CJ on here, and thank you so much for tuning in.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.